Welcome to the second edition of the Maintenance Analytics Summit here in Stockholm.
Thank you.
It's really a pleasure hosting you, having you with us, and having Crosser as partners for the second year in a row. Before we continue, please tell us more about yourself, your background.
Okay, so I'm Göran Appelquist, and I'm the CTO at Crosser. I joined Crosser now almost 2 years ago, when we got our first funding. Before that, I've been working in different tech startups for the last 20 years in other industries, mainly in the video space. But going way back, I have a background in physics. I did research on data acquisition systems for large physics experiments down at CERN in Switzerland. And actually, what we did there was very similar to what we do now at Crosser, but in a completely different environment. But it was the same kind of problem, having too much data that you cannot offload and process outside. So you had to do processing inside, close to the source of the data. And that's exactly what we do now with Crosser as well. So for me, it's a little bit coming back to my origins.
You're so much talking about predictive maintenance, but one crucial part of it is technology. Without it, it's not possible. So how does your organization help companies accelerate the further development in this area from a solution perspective?
So what we do at Crosser, first of all, we focus on edge processing, implementing whatever type of processing that you need to do close to the source of the data. And what we have tried to do is to simplify the implementation and also the life cycle management of that type of processing, because many of the solutions out there are software developer tools or environments. And we think that that is a big stumbling block for many of our customers. They typically don't have software developers, and if they have it, they are very few. So we have tried to develop tools that make it easier to involve other people, automation engineers, data scientists, and so on, in the process of setting up the type of processing that you want to run in the edge. And also involve, as we've seen in a number of the talks in this conference, to get this working, you need to involve people from different parts of the organization, from automation, data scientists, IT department. And then having tools that allows this group of people to collaborate in an easy way to develop the type of processing that you implement in the edge is also something that we try to help with. And then, of course, when you do this, if you push data processing to the edge, you typically end up with having lots of instances where you do processing. It's not centralized in one place. You have lots of these. If you have multiple sites or you have mobile assets or whatever, it's a big site with lots of machines. You might have many places where you do edge processing, and then managing all these different distributed sites quickly becomes a challenge. We have tried to address that as well to simplify the lifecycle management of your edge processing.
So you would agree that while there are a high number of organizations who are doing quite well in this field, seeking further advanced techniques, there is, however, a large number still that are probably in the first steps of these platforms that they want to implement, this philosophy. Actually, this is more like a philosophy organization. So what would your suggestions be for them on how to start, what to prioritize from an organization which offers them part of the solutions for this?
If we take it from a technical point of it, I think our main recommendation is to start simple. Where we see typical failure is when you go for the most advanced stuff from the start. When you start with machine learning, for example, I said that yesterday in the panel. When that is your initial ambition to get machine learning running at the edge, then you're likely to fail, I will say. So start simple, just getting hold of the data, find out what data you have, and then tie that on the other end with what is the problem that you want to solve. If you have no idea of that, exactly. There must in the end, because we see a lot of cases where you set up a POC, get hold of the data, and you see what data you have. But if you haven't figured out what you want to do with that data, what is the problem that you want to solve, you never get beyond that POC, and it never comes into production. So those two things, start simple and then have a real problem that you want to solve. then I think you have much more likely to succeed with this kind of project.
And are these customers really ready for predictive maintenance?
Some are, some are not. I think especially machine builders are more prepared than factory owners because they know their machines very well. They can also collect data from a lot of customers, so they get to see how their machines are used in many different environments and use cases. So for them, it's easier to first of all build the technical side of it and get the insights out of it. And there's also I wouldn't say easy, but at least there is a natural way for them to make profit out of this by selling a more higher valued support contract or service agreement with their end customers, and they can more easily present the value to their end customers. Then there are other challenges. I mean, if you sell equipment, you sell one machine and then that's it, and now you have to start selling a service instead. I mean, that's another business challenge. But I think for them it's easier to see where this makes sense and how they should make money out of it. For a factory owner, it's a little bit harder. But then there are a lot of other use cases for factory owners where they can maybe not predictive maintenance, but more anomaly detection and machine-to-machine communication, where the same kind of technology makes a lot of sense. So I think it depends a lot on the type of organization, and to some extent the larger organizations have more skills in this area and are more prepared in that sense. But also it involves a lot of organizational changes as well, which might be harder with the big organizations. So then maybe the ones in the middle are the ones that are most ready for doing something in this area.
Everything is so dynamic, is changing, but this is a question we like to leave for the end. What is the prediction about this in the near future? Where are we heading towards?
For us, I mean, which is unfortunate, I think we have seen over the last year or 6 months even that there are more and more use cases that are purely on premise. They don't involve the cloud at all. So analyzing the data and use the result on the floor or close to the machine or whatever it is that you monitor, that is something that we see more and more, and we're of course very happy about that because that's exactly where we focus. But I think we will see more and more processing move to the edge and actually less being done in the cloud. And in the end, I mean, we will end up with most setups being hybrids, with some parts being done in the edge and some parts being done in the cloud. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I think, or I hope we will see, we're not there yet, but if we look at machine learning, which has been a big topic on this conference, today what we see is that most projects, or almost all I would say, are extremely use case specific. They are built for one specific use case, typically by the customer themselves. They have an internal team that have built some kind of model for a very specific use case. So what I hope that we will see going forward is that we start to see at least somewhat more generic models or ways of doing predictive maintenance that can be applied in more than one use case. So that, because that will make it a lot easier, especially for the smaller companies that don't have that kind of competence in-house to develop these models.
The standardization of these.
That they can just take something off the shelf and plug it in and use it in their setup.
Göran, it was a pleasure. Thank you for being with us. Thanks to Crosser, and thank you for conducting this interview. My pleasure.
Thank you.